Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're across this great wide world of ours. Um, I haven't done a Native American video for a while about concerning defunding the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Consequently, from this point forward, I'll be called the BIA. And the point that I want to talk about today is this is still an issue, really, issue with me concerning the BIA and how we need to look at the situation and realize that we're dealing with a situation where uh, we need to. I know there's been talk about the Dodge and the Department of Efficiency, and actually, this is one area that they would not have to do a lot of research on. You got a main office in Washington D.C., 12 divisional offices, and really, in essence, you can really develop this down into, and I've talked about this before, the four regional areas. Move the headquarters somewhere in the middle of around the 100th meridian, because really, majority of the tribes are west of the Mississippi, and uh, I've mentioned cities like Austin, uh, even Dallas, Fort Worth, Oklahoma City, even all the way up to Nebraska, Omaha, areas up there where I shouldn't say up there, but areas where even in South Dakota, North Dakota, um, where you could really create a headquarters and you can streamline that headquarters because in the regional offices, since most of the majority of the population exist, Native American or indigenous population exists west of the Mississippi. You can just have a regional office in the east, a regional office in Southwest United States, Northwest, and then somewhere you could have like in the mid plains or whatever. So in other words, in essence, you go from one, two, three, four, five offices instead of 12 offices, and you move the headquarters. You close the building down in Washington D.C. because in essence, of what you're really doing is you're having more administrative cost than you are really effectively helping Native American culture. And like I've said this before, you call out to somebody, and then when you ask and get an answer, they say, well, you got to talk to the individual tribes. And really, what we're trying to do, is, in essence, is turn self autonomy and self acquisition over to the tribes themselves. I honestly believe then also that it's not the federal government's responsibility to take care of people that they've taken advantage of, and it would be better. And I have a contingent of this also, that they applied to have a state at one time, and the contention is maybe we ought to look at this issue again. Name and point, eastern part of Oklahoma, where they tried to apply for statehood and was denied in I believe, the 1880s, 1890s, and then eventually Oklahoma became a state. But it was a state that necessarily, I think, it would bring relations with the Native American tribes if they would have their own representation. In essence, that would give them 2 Senate seats and House representation too. And let's be real about it, folks. Really, there's nobody's anymore with this these bipolar of the Democratic and Republican Party. No one is having a super majority. And just like the British Parliament, we have the other divisions within you have the Tories, the Labour Party, etc. You have another part. You would have a representation of that could be independent of the Republican and Democratic Party. You can actually offer some credence and some helping Native Americans better than necessarily, because really it's not a Republican thing, it's not a Democratic thing, it's a Republic thing, and that's another issue in itself. That when I often think that people say, well, this is a democracy. It's really not a democracy. It's really a republic, because we have a House, we have a judicial, and we have an executive branch. And it's not really a democracy. A democracy, in essence, is the people just decide, and really it's not the people. We send representatives to Washington to represent our needs and wants, and necessarily sometimes that doesn't occur. Case in point, have some articles that I'm following up on pharmaceuticals and their interaction with Native American tribes, which they're selling their patents to tribes uh, for immunity issues, because Native Americans have immunity from trial. And then necessarily, I thought it was great. It's great thing that a lawyer came up with, and I hope he made a lot of money, or they made a lot of money out of it, he or she. So, or the group, because it was really a thing, but it really ethically wise. It's not the most appropriate thing. And there again, I think that goes back to the case in point where I look at this more. I'm in Ohio. I lived in Arizona. I actually go to Texas A&M Law School, and I see it in a perspective. And I did a lot of work for Rocky Mountain Power for a while, so I can see things in a perspective that is more. Uh, uh, I'm not. I'm more biased and more open to what's going on. Necessarily, not trying to uh, create more chaos, but to actually to create more resolution and meaning to Western interest. And we got to keep in point, folks. A lot of these reservations don't have plumbing. A lot of these reservations don't have clean water. A lot of these have limited use of electricity. So, in essence, when we look at this, the 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 issue was when the Bureau of Indian Affairs was founded, the BIA was supposed to, under John C. Calhoun, it was under the War Department. It really hasn't changed much. And it's been my contention, too, that when I've talked to before, they call it Indians. And yet we got rid of, the Cleveland Indians. Now I forget what they're called. And, Washington Redskins, they changed their name. So, and yet we as a republic are still using the name Indian and Bureau of Indian Affairs. So, and which to me that is behooved. It doesn't make any sense at all. So, anyway, these are some food for thoughts. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Feel free to reach out to me at bthomasmillerpsych@gmail.com. That's bthomasmillerpsych.com. And hopefully sometime this week I'll get out another video. Talk to you real soon. Bye.